States of America. They've done unimaginable harm globally as a force of terror, but especially when it comes to domestic issues, like the Republican Party is, like Osama bin Laden will never amount.
Last week, you were in New York for this arraignment. The world watched it. You've not given an interview since. You were there, I think, 57 minutes. Tell us from your perspective what that was like.
Well, it was a horrible thing because I did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. You look at even the pundits and the legal analysis, Greg Jarrett, all of these really talented people, they're saying he didn't do anything wrong. So that's number one. Number two, they were incredible. When I went to the courthouse, which is also a prison, in a sense, they signed me in.
Wow. My man has been reading Foucault. Okay. The courthouse, it's like a prison. Many people say the school is like a prison, but you know what's the real prison? Prison.
And I'll tell you, people were crying. People that work there, professionally work there, that have no problems putting in murderers, and they see everybody. It's tough place. And they were crying. They were actually crying. They said, I'm sorry. They'd say, 2024, sir, 2024. And tears are pouring down their eyes. I've never seen anything like that. Those people are phenomenal. Those are your police.
Yep.
Those are the people that work at the courthouse. They're unbelievable people. Many of them were in tears or close to it. Many apologists were sorry, sir. We're sorry. They had to have me do certain things. They said, sir, I can't believe I have to ask you. I can't even believe that I have to ask you to do it. You could see. So in one sense, it was beautiful because they get it. In another sense, you know, it's nasty. I went to the Wharton School of Finance. They didn't teach me about that. That wasn't like
they didn't know about the arraignment part?
That wasn't, we didn't have a class on arraignment. And, you know, it was.
He's so back. Ron DeSantis doesn't have like a fucking fraction, an ounce of the charisma that he demonstrates in this interview. Okay? He's literally bullying someone who he knows in private has talked shit about him, while simultaneously having a lot of fucking clippable moments. He's back. I wonder if Trump knows Tucker shit talked him. Are you kidding me, dude? Come on. Of course he knows, dude. He's the most narcissistic, thin-skinned motherfucker on the planet. Of course he knows.
It was a sad day in many ways, and in many ways it was a beautiful day because the people understand. I didn't know this was happening.
I'm about to get a platform ban for showing you cuckold porn. Okay? This is literally Big Blonde Bull. Fucks the cuckold on camera. Okay? This is like Tucker Carlson. You know what? Remember when I said, I wonder what could be more humiliating for Sneeko now that he got like eviscerated by Charlie on the timeline? This is it. If Sneeko somehow successfully launched a right-wing grift for himself, got to like an incredibly prominent position, became one of the most powerful pundits in the country, okay, and then got cucked on national television like this, I would say that would probably be the only rope that he could shoot that's even fucking going to be more embarrassing, more humiliating than the one that Moist Critical gave him.
But the poll numbers have gone through the roof. The people get it. And the other ones are hoaxes also. You know, the box hoax. Look at Biden. He's got 1,850 boxes. And, you know, that's a hoax. And then the one in Atlanta where I had a perfect phone call. This is all weaponization. They're weaponizing our justice system, Tucker. And they think if they go and give you a subpoena, you know, I guess I'm very well known and people understand it and they get it. And maybe I have a bigger platform so I can explain it. But if you're somebody, a Republican, let's say, running for office, and you get a subpoena, you might as well resign because you're not going to be able to survive it. And the voters aren't going to handle it. The voters aren't going to take it. What they're doing is weaponizing the system, and there's never been anything like it. And it's all disinformation. You see, the other day, Afghanistan, one of the worst things I've ever seen, I think the most embarrassing moment that this country's ever had, frankly, the way we got out. Not the getting out. We had to get out. It was ridiculous to be there. And I had that so good, so tight, so tough. I spoke to the leader, Abdul. I said, Abdul, if you do anything, you're going to get hit really hard. Literally, he said, but sir, why? Why? He goes, why, oh, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you'll have to figure that one out, Abdul. But we didn't have one death in 18 months. He knew, not one death. And then to see the way we got out, like we were surrendering, like taking the military out first, leaving $85 billion worth of equipment behind, giving up Bagram. I was going to keep Bagram. I was getting out, but not for Afghanistan. It's 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. It's one of the biggest Air Force bases in the world, I think the biggest, with runways that go 10,000 feet. I was keeping that because of China, not because of Afghanistan.
Right.
And they left everything. They left in the dark of night. They left the lights on. They left the dogs, by the way. You know, the people say about the dogs. They left the dogs. Everyone, you know, the dog lovers, and you got a lot of them. I love dogs. You love dogs. But they left the dogs. People said, what? One of the first questions I got, what did they do with the dogs? Mostly German Shepherds. They left them. What they did, the way they got out, was so horrible. Okay, everybody knows that was their plan. That had nothing to do with me. I was getting out, too. We would have gotten out with strength and dignity. And what happened? They got out. And the other day I hear, yeah.
I love the Abdul. I sent him a photo of his house. That's like, I mean, that's another great one. Straight up. I'll admit it. That's a great one. Like, he's just saying he like threatened. He's saying he fucking threatened the fucking leader of the Taliban.
Shepherds. People said, what lovers? And you got a lot of them. I love dogs. You love dogs. But they left the dogs. People said, what? One of the first questions I got, what did they do with the dogs? Mostly German Shepherds. They left them. What they did, the way they got out, was so horrible. Okay, everybody knows that was their plan. That had nothing to do with me. I was getting out, too. We would have gotten out with strength and dignity. And what happened? They got out. And the other day I hear, yeah, it was Trump's fault. Oh, that's right. It was Trump. I was gone for a long. I would have been out faster than them. We would have had all the equipment. We would have had the American citizens. We left hostages. We left Americans behind. Many, I think many more than you think. And we had 13 soldiers killed. And nobody ever mentions the fact that we had many maimed so badly. No arms, no legs. Their face was obliterated. This is the way this guy got out. We would have gotten out with dignity and strength. We were going to. But I was taking 100% of, I said, I want every nail. I want every screw. I want the tents. They said, sir, the tents are very hard to take out. I said, I want the tents. I want the tanks. I want the planes. I want everything. And a couple of them fought me on it. Like me.
I said, I don't care. I want the tents. That's so awesome.
He said, sir, I think it's cheaper to leave the equipment behind. I said, let me ask you, we have a plane that cost $100 million. It's sitting there. All it needs is a tank of gas, right? Give me a little jet fuel. We'll fly it to Pakistan or any place else, or we'll fly it directly home. You say it's cheaper to leave a $100 million plane. Sir, I think overall it's cheaper. These are idiots we're dealing with. They left $85 billion worth of equipment. They left our American citizens behind. And they moved the military out first. No, you move the military out last. I did a little skit with a 5-year-old kid. I said, let me ask you, here's the situation. I explained the situation. I said, would you take the military out first, or would you take it out last? I take it out last, 5-year-old. But they took the military out first, and they were afraid of our military. When I was there, they were afraid. We didn't have one soldier killed in 18 months. Not one soldier was killed in 18 months. And then we got out like we surrendered. I think it was the single most embarrassing day in the history of our country. It was totally their fault. They didn't go by anything because, you know, we had a system of getting out. But if the Taliban, in particular, the Taliban, because that's where the action was, right? When I called Abdul, the press went crazy. The fake news went crazy. Why did he call an enemy? I said, well, it's Jesse James. I used to ask him, why did he rob banks? He said, that's where the money is. Why did I call the head of the Taliban? Because that's where the killing was. And he's there now, Abdul. I'm sure he likes me. He called me Your Excellency. I don't know if he calls Biden Your Excellency.
Fuck. Bro, only Trump can get away with saying that the leader of the fucking Taliban loves me. And then everyone will look at that and go, oh, hell yeah, brother. Like, I love that. You're so right. That's a good thing. I love that. The Taliban, they love me. I serve him top of the hour ad breaks. Everybody says, please, sir. I'm subscribed. No worries, believe me. At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. For $5 or for free, I say. The Taliban says, sir, I'm already subscribed, but I'll gift some subscriptions so that others can avoid the ad breaks as well. Here's the 3-minute ad break now, believe me.
Probably, I mean, you know, they're one of the largest arms dealers now in the world. They're selling the $85 billion worth of it because they only need 5% of it.
Of course.
They're selling the equipment. They're one of the largest, I think, second arms dealers. Brand new helicopters, brand new airplanes, brand new tanks.
The funniest part, first of all, that's not true, but no, he's not wrong. They are a pretty they're a pretty massive arms dealer now. Or not an arms dealer, but like they do have a lot of fucking weapons and they do have a lot of like used Humvees and shit like that. I think they have like a pretty massive, pretty sizable fleet now. You want to know why? Because we're the largest arms dealer and we brought them there. The point is, America is so powerful and so large of an arms dealer that it literally doesn't matter. Our trash being left behind makes that country immediately become like not the second, but like a competitive fucking arms dealer. Our trash and alone is enough for nations to be like, we have one of the most powerful fleets of armored personnel carriers on the planet now.
Unbelievable what we left behind. We ran, and there was no reason to. I had them, I could have stayed there for 5 years if I wanted to. I wanted out. 21 years was enough. I wanted out. We shouldn't have been there in the first place. But when I see what happens, when I see the level of stupidity, and because of that, it's all a big web. Because of that, I think Putin, who would have never gone into Ukraine when I was there, would have never, I talked to him about it often, would have never, ever done that when he saw that.
Wait, what? Did he just say he talks to Putin often about invading Ukraine? What the fuck?
I wasn't there, and he saw these fools, these stupid people. And think of that, the way they left Afghanistan, and nobody was fired. I fired a lot of people because if they didn't do a good job, I'd fire them.
May I ask, you talked to Putin about Ukraine. What did you say to him?
I could see that he loved it. And I said...
he loved Ukraine.
He considers it to be a part of Russia.
Yeah.
I said, not when I'm president. We had a very good relationship. I mean, look, I was the worst thing that ever happened to him.
Dude. I too often level cities into the fucking ground when I love it a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I am by no means a NatSec Ukrainian flag in the bio liberal, right? As you all know, I am funded by Vladimir Putin himself directly. I am his most loyal soldier. But holy fuck, dude. That is a wild, absolutely Wild take. Yeah, Putin loved it. He loved Ukraine. He wanted to liberate it. He literally just admitted to telling Putin to wait to invade until he was no longer president. This guy's insane. No, first of all, none of those things happened, chatter. Hello, he's lying. It's just funny that he's lying in that direction, which you're right. That is the implication of what he's basically saying, which is weird because, like, he's lying. He could have said anything, but he chose to say that. That's what you need to remember. Like, that, it's like very odd. If you're going to lie, just lie about anything else. He's just like, no, Putin, he said he loved Ukraine. I told him, don't invade yet. No, no, no. Believe me, I will stop you.
I closed up his pipeline. You never heard the words Nord Stream 2 until I came along. Nord Stream 2 is their pipeline. And I had a great relationship with them, but it was very tough because they had a fake Russia investigation. And I told him, and he told me.
This part is true. He did stop Nord Stream 2.
He said, it's very hard for us to deal, don't you think? I said, very hard. Because we have a fake investigation that turned out to be a fake. For 2 years it went on. And we could have done very well with Russia. They have great minerals. They have great things that we want, we could have. And they need the money and they need other things. But that interfered. That was a terrible thing. That was actually a treasonous thing to do. Those people should have been arrested. They made it up. They made up a problem with Russia that didn't exist. Now they've all admitted it didn't exist. It was just on to the next one. I often say, they said to me the other day, one of your fellow journalists said, who's the biggest problem, sir? Is it China? Could it be Russia? Could it be North Korea? No, I said, the biggest problem is from within. It's these sick, radical people.
Ooh, that's a good line.
Because we can handle if we're smart.
God damn, that's such a good line, dude. I mean, I say that about the Republican Party, like, and so does Noam Chomsky, to be fair. It's a bit of a plagiarization from Noam Chomsky, but like, yeah, the Republican Party is the greatest fucking, the greatest burden for American prosperity. They have done unimaginable harm to the United States of America. They've done unimaginable harm globally as a force of terror, but especially when it comes to domestic issues, like the Republican Party is, like Osama bin Laden will never amount. Like his toll will be nothing in comparison to the Republican Party's advocacy towards American evisceration. Okay, like straight up. But couldn't you almost say the same thing about DNC? Yes, I can, and I will. The fuck are you saying? Osama bin Laden did 9/11. Let's not even talk about who funded him, who backed him originally, what those motivations were, who allowed him to fucking operate in the region for as long as he did. Let's forget all of that, right? Okay? What we did after 9/11 was more damaging to American existence. If the American government literally said, you know what, we're not going to do shit, okay? You know, the past is in the past. Who gives a fuck? Obviously, that would be insane. I'm not even advocating for that. But if they had said that instead of do a $6, $7, $8 trillion war on terror that only made the world less safe as a consequence of the destabilization in the Middle East, while actively fighting the very same people that we had armed, that we still arm to this fucking day, the world globally would be a better place. Literally, America would be a better place. America would be a more safe place. Why forget about such things? Are you scared? What? Did you just not hear? Do you not have the mental fortitude to understand the argument that I'm making? What America did to Americans and to the rest of the world after 9/11 was worse than 9/11. This is a sentiment that I stand by. I have literally written articles on this. You can Google it if you want. Huffington Post, Hasan Piker. 9/11 was bad. What America did afterwards was worse. That was like fucking back in 2016, 2017 when I said that. If you think I'm scared, I don't know what to tell you. I've said way worse things about 9/11. Okay? Yeah. There you go. Never forget, 9/11 was awful. What we did after was worse. Just remember that we were supporting pedophile warlords in Afghanistan that were doing worse shit than the Taliban. They were the only people in the country who could collaborate for money, and they were so unpopular that they collapsed as soon as we left. You are right. People were running to the Taliban to get away from the horrors of Western-backed forces, 100%. Ironic, because those pedophile warlords and the Chaiwalas that they were literally fucking would turn around and then still kill American soldiers. America was getting buddy fucked by the dudes that they were the only dudes that they could collaborate with. So, like, it was just a gigantic... Wait, you published this on 9/11? I did. In 2017, on 9/11, I published this. This is back before the pussification of the United States of America and the American political sphere. Okay? I stand by that. I stand by this sentiment. It is 100% correct. That was the OG 9/11 take that I had. Your 20th anniversary 9/11 stream was one of the best pieces of content related to 9/11 ever created. Yeah. Did you say Chaiwala? I did. Chai boys. The little kids that fucking, little boys that deliver tea. That the pedophile warlords fuck. Yeah, you heard me. Anyway. So yeah, it was fucking bullshit. It was unacceptable. It was fucking disastrous.
Smart. We can handle Russia, China. I did. I took in billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars.
I have to say, I respected you until I saw what you think about 9/11. Wait, what? Like just now? Just now you saw what I think about 9/11? Go read that article. Come back to me and tell me if you think that there's any notes on it. Because I'm talking about post 9/11 universe in a selfish American perspective here, okay? I have a lot worse things to say. But this argument literally just pertains to American citizens and how America was eviscerated by post 9/11 legislation.
President took in anything, and they respected me. He's the same thing, you know. I told him, you can't go into Taiwan. You can't do it. I won't tell you exactly what I said, but it was something that probably a lot of people wouldn't like if they heard it, but it was very tough. Don't go into Taiwan. If you do, we're going to have problems. Other than that, we're going to be great relationship. We're going to have a great relationship. And he said to me when I said we're going to do something, if he goes in, no, you wouldn't do it. I'll do that. I swear I'll do that. And he didn't believe me, but he believed me 10%. The same thing with Putin. I said I was going to do something really nasty if he goes into Ukraine. He said, no, you're not going to do that. I said, I will. And he didn't believe me either, but he believed me 10%. And the 10%, you never heard talk about going into Ukraine. You never heard talk about going into Taiwan until I was no longer there. Now, what a mess the world is in. What a mess.
Ay. He's right. What a mess.
Do you think Biden will stay in the race?
Look, I watch him just like you do. And I think it's almost inappropriate for me to say it. But I deal with other people. I don't see how it's possible. And it's not an age thing. You know, like I say, I have friends that are 88, 89, 92. Bernie Marcus, Home Depot, is 95.
God damn, he's old, bro. Like, you think I'm old? I know even older people.
Smart as hell. He's sharp as he was. I mean, he's, you know, mentally, Bernie Marcus, Home Depot, founder of Home Depot, one of the founders. I mean, I had a meeting with him a few months ago. He was 100%. I know people that built their fortunes from 80 to 90. They were always struggling, and they made a fortune from 80 to 90. A couple of people in particular. It's amazing. He's not too old. You know, his age. I think they do the age thing because I'm 4 or 5 years behind. They say this is a way of getting Trump. Let's go him up. But there's something wrong. I saw his answer today on television about whether or not he was going to run, to a very nice guy named Al Roker. When you can't get a softer question than that. That was a long answer, talking about the eggs and the this and that. Look, I don't think he can. But say what you want. They didn't expect him to get it. Yeah. And the people could say he won an election. You know, it always goes, I got the most votes of any person, any sitting president in history.
We still don't know what the fucking nose drip comes from, right? Is it the Sudafed? Like we still don't fully understand where the fucking nose thing's coming from, right? Cause like the Zaza, they're saying, believe me, I'm the real Zaza smoker.
I got 15 million less I couldn't lose. They're surrounded by vicious, smart people, radical left people, but they're very smart and they're very vicious. It's not him. It's not him. He's now in Ireland. He's not going to have a news conference. When the world is exploding, I own property in Ireland. I'm not going to Ireland. The world is exploding around us. You could end up in a third world war, and this guy's going to be in Ireland and not having a news conference. He hasn't had a news conference, I guess, in months. I saw today where he hasn't. It's been.
Well, he can't. So if he doesn't run, if he's taken out by his own party, or who knows what happens, but it doesn't seem like he's capable of running again, who does run?
Well, obviously the one that they would talk about would be the vice president, Kamala. That would be the one that they talk about. But I don't think she's performed well on the big stage. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. But there are a certain group of people that will go crazy if it's not her. They're going to be very angry if it's not her. That's a problem. You have a very ambitious guy in California, but he's done a terrible job with the state. I used to get along great with him, you know, when I was president. I got along really good, Gavin.
Well, you got along with Gavin Newsom?
I did. I really did. He was always very nice to me.
Gruesome, they're calling him. I said, hey, listen. You know, you and my son, you got similar taste. Kimberly Guilfoyle, what a piece of ass.
Said the greatest things. He would say things like he's doing a great job. Oh, he was very
About
nice.
you?
About me. That's why I could never hit him, because he was so nice to me. It's just laying in wait, right? But I could, you know, he
What?
was very,
Wait, what the fuck was that?
it's just laying in wait, right?
What? What just happened? Did you just have a fucking aneurysm? What's happening? Laying in wait. The dirt is laying and lying in wait. God, I love him. Just a fucking goat, dude.
But I could, you know, he was very nice to me. And relatively speaking, some of them weren't. We did a good job for the governors. But they talk about him. They talk about some others. I just don't see Biden doing it from a physical or a mental standpoint.
Yes.
I don't see it. But it's been a crazy period of time in the world of politics. But he's surrounded by people. You know, they expected Bernie to win. Now, Bernie's older than Biden, you know, whether you like him or not. He's sharp. I watched him being interviewed the other day. He's 100% sharp. He hasn't lost much, if anything, Bernie Sanders. But, you know, he's older. So it's not an age thing. I just don't see him
So they're trying to prevent you from making it to the general election by tying you up in lawsuits, charging you with crimes. You've described the process.
It's the old Soviet process.
The old Soviet process. And you've described it as illegitimate. If this goes to trial and you get convicted, like how would you respond in the middle of a presidential campaign?
Well,
how would
it's
you
so off. Statute of limitations are years off. It's hard to believe. You know, usually when you have something like this, the Democrats say, "Oh, he's terrible, guilty." The Democrats have even said, "I'm innocent." I watched some of these. I think it was Andrew McCabe, the FBI guy who I fired. He came out. He said, "They've got no case." They've all come out and said it. And then you've had Andrew McCarthy, you've had Jonathan Turley, Greg Jarrett, Dershowitz, all of them, everybody, and they're, down the middle people. They see it. They say, there's no crime. There's no anything. Think of it, Tucker. I've been through 7 years of bull investigations, 7 years. They've looked at, I have a very big company, much bigger than they understand. In fact, when they finally got my taxes, they said, whoa. They took them years to get the taxes. They got them. That was the last you ever heard. You never heard one thing about them. But it took them years to get them because they shouldn't be looking at my taxes. I was surprised the Supreme Court gave them the right. They shouldn't be looking at people. That's sort of another one of the tenets. You don't do that. But I didn't care that much. I just, on principle, I fought them. And they looked. I built a great company. When you do the things that I do and you employ thousands and thousands of people over the years, just thousands, we've done a great job. And then I ran for president. People were surprised that I won, but I used to see these rallies, and I'll tell you, the rallies are bigger now. The enthusiasm is more now than I've ever seen. So
what do you think, since your poll numbers have risen consistently since they raided this place, Mar-a-Lago?
Well, before they raided.
In August.
They were going up substantially before.
Well, they definitely moved after
Since then, they've really been going up.
So how do you think that your opponents will respond?
I don't know how well. We have two opponents. We have a primary opponent. We have a general election opponent.
I mean the Democratic Party using the legal system.
Well, what they're doing is they're finding, and think of this, they say 11 million pages, but whatever it is, through all of these Democrats' investigations. I had the Mueller hoax. I had impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, Ukraine, Russia. You knew the Russia. I got that whole term from you, Russia. You'd be screaming it and say, this guy's a comedian. But you remember that whole period of time.
Quite
Russia.
well.
It turned out to be a total fake. But
Oh, I saw this yesterday when my neuroatypical ass has to campaign in early to my king, my goat, Donald motherfucking Trump. All right, that car chase, that high-speed car chase was brought to you by the Los Angeles Police Department, California Highway Patrol, and a lack of Grand Theft Auto 6. But now we are back to our regular broadcasting schedule.
now they always do that. They do that. And other people would do it, but they do it pretty much better than others.
Is there anything they could throw at you legally that would convince you to drop out of the race? If you get convicted in this case in New York,
No, I'd never
drop
drop out. No, I'd never drop. It's not my thing. I wouldn't do it.
I gotta pee. I'll be back.
Covering the weather beat here in windy Palm Beach. Actually, we're here to interview the former president and now the Republican frontrunner, Donald Trump. While the rest of us have spent the last 2.5 years arguing about systemic racism and trans rights and other ephemera, other imaginary things, America's position globally has eroded so fast it defies belief. But Donald Trump has noticed things have really changed since he left office, and that's the topic of this next part of the conversation. Here it is. You said at the time when you were president that going to war with Russia, either hot war or cold war, would drive Russia into an alliance with China.
I did.
And that would displace us as the most powerful nation.
I did. But we have a bigger problem. The bigger problem is the weaponry. The weaponry today is so powerful. This isn't like Second World War where we have army tanks running around shooting each other. This is weapons the likes of which the world has never seen before. They have them and we have them. And China has them less, but within 5 years, China will have equal to us. China, I'm talking about nuclear. China has the beginnings of a very big, very powerful nuclear. They're short 5 years. They had started much later. Russia and us are comparable. Massive power, massive. And that's one of the things.
More than people understand, do you
More than
think?
people understand, yeah. Yeah, more.
Were
And
you
they don't
surprised?
understand the power. If you look at Hiroshima, as some people call it, if you look at
Hiroshima, some people call it. Dude, he's the fucking going crazy. Anyway, let's continue.
Nagasaki, you look at those two events took place many, many years ago, and multiply that power times 500. That's what you're talking about. Where it actually melted the granite. You know, granite is unmeltable by blowtorches.
Yes.
But the granite, if you look at granite areas, it's like water that got, you know, hardened, like an ice skating rink. It melted the granite. If you look at that and multiply it times 500, that's what you're talking about. When I listen to people talk about global warming, that the ocean will rise in the next 300 years by 1/8 of an inch, and they talk about this is our problem. Our big problem is nuclear warming. I mean, nobody even talks about it. The environmentalists talk about all this nonsense in many cases. Look, I'm an environmentalist also, I guess, in my own way, because I've done a good job with the environment. But nobody talks about nuclear, the problem we have, the biggest problem we have in the whole world. It's not global warming. It's nuclear warming. And all it takes is one madman, and you're going to have a problem the likes of which the world has never seen. And it's only a matter of seconds. You don't have to wait 200 to 300 years for it to happen.
So what you're saying is demonstrably true. Why is this not something our leaders talk about or the press talks about?
Because I don't think they're smart. I don't think they get it. Putin got it. I would talk to him about it all the time. I never mentioned the word nuclear. You never heard me mention the word. You know, my uncle was a professor, a great professor at MIT for a long time. I think he has the longest, Dr. John Trump. And he would talk about a lot of different things, and it was very interesting to me. For years, I talked to him. Passed away. He's a great, great gentleman. I think it's the longest tenured professor in the history of MIT. But if he wasn't, he was very close, because he was there for almost 40 years. And we talk about things, and he said, you know, someday they'll have a suitcase, and in that suitcase, it'll be nuclear, and you'll blow up New York City out of a suitcase. And I said, no, Uncle John, that can't possibly. He's right. The power is so incredible. You can fire up a submarine and run it for years on essentially a tablet. Run it for years. So when we talk about war, and when I watch all of the people talking about Ukraine and how's Ukraine doing, blah, 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 Russia's sitting back. First of all, Ukraine's being obliterated.
Yes.
Okay, let's not even talk nuclear. But let's say it wasn't. Let's say they were doing better than anticipated. If he decided to use his second form of destruction, which is nuclear, that's the end of that. You understand? And I know where you are in Ukraine, so I mean, you understand it better than most. Most people don't. Most people don't even talk about it. They don't talk about the fact that he has equal to the United States in nuclear capability and destruction. And so I watch all of this happening, and it's so sad.
But can I just ask, so the Biden people know the power of nuclear weapons. They now control our arsenal. They don't seem worried about this.
That's because they don't understand life. They don't understand whatever it is that you have to understand. You know, it's very interesting. At the very beginning, Biden was very afraid of nuclear, because I watched him and he was, oh, they have nuclear weapons. Oh, which was exactly the wrong signal to send. You don't do that. But if you go back and check your files, you'll see Biden early on saying, oh, well, we can't do this. They have nuclear weapons. Well, you don't want to, you don't want to act that way.
Yeah.
But he was very afraid of nuclear. I said, you know, you got to be a little bit cooler than that. But what happened is now that nobody talks about it. But every day Putin mentions it, and every day other people mention it. And now all of a sudden, if you look, other countries are talking about.
I love the implication here that, like, Biden originally didn't speak enough about nuclear weapons, and now he's not speaking at all about nuclear weapons and not taking it seriously, which is like you didn't even need to say that, because like no one really knows or understands. Like no one has really thought a lot about like Biden's use of nuclear warnings and whatnot. So you could have just like went with a one-sided argument, and instead he made the argument from both sides. Like he literally said Biden at first talked he never talked about nuclear weapons, and now it's bad that he's talking about nuclear weapons and not taking it seriously. Which one is it?
Getting it. This was something you don't mention.
Which he's simultaneously also saying that like he will use just the right amount. He will use just the right amount of nuclear conversations to I guess avoid catastrophe.
I call it the N-word.
Oh!
Two N-words. You don't mention either one of them. The nuclear word you don't mention because the power is so destructive. I met with professors at MIT, and I was preparing for a debate. I wouldn't say it was a long preparation, but I did want to talk about nuclear because I consider it to be the single greatest threat the world has, far greater than global warming, like not even a contest. And I had these people come down. They were very smart, very expert. And I said, so when we said...
They're very smart, very expert. I'm sorry, bro. At this point, I mean, I love him. He's so funny. He's so content. But, like, he's not even trying to, like, genuinely say words. They're very smart, very expert. Like, what the fuck does that mean? You're just saying words, man. What's the point of mentioning a racist slur? I don't get it. What do you mean? Like nuclear? Is that what you... Oh, he loves saying that because he knows it's clippable. What do you mean? That's the point. Like, what? Calling the N-word nuclear is like... He's doing it on purpose. Like, he's doing it so that people go, what the fuck? Why'd you say that?
Start talking about nuclear in a debate. How would you handle it? And they looked at me, one in particular, and said...
He called out both N-words, to be fair. Yeah, that's true. He's also woke. Like, I'm sorry, Sweaty. He is woke. He says you shouldn't say it. You shouldn't say either of them. But then he says nuclear all the time, so I don't know. Maybe he says the other N-word too. Well, yeah, he has regularly spoken out against saying the other N-word. Like he says it all the time, actually, which is odd. Because I feel like back in the day, that was like a big point of contention for all the edgy boys. Which is weird. Like he keeps bringing that up now. And I don't know. I mean, it's good, I guess. I'll take the dub where I can get it.
Sir, you can't talk about it. You cannot talk about it. I said, what does that mean? He said, it is so massive, it is so destructive that you cannot talk about it. I understood exactly what he meant. And we stayed away from it for the most part. But now Putin's mentioning it all the time. We don't mention, but Putin's always mentioning it. You've heard him say it. We are a nuclear power. He said not so long ago, I said, that's the first time I've heard a major country. You know, you do hear it talked about, and I did a good job. I did a great job with North Korea, Kim Jong-un. You went with me on a trip. You insulted him, which didn't make my life too easy, but that's okay. But you were there, one of the few. And it was an amazing, it had to be one of the most incredible experiences for you.
For sure.
But it was amazing. We had thousands of reporters They weren't treated particularly nicely either, by the way, but I got along great with him. And because of that, it started rough, remember, with, Rocket Man, Little Rocket Man? And he said, I have a button on my desk, a red.
So cucked. Let's run that again.
Reporters. Sure. But it was an amazing, it had to be one of the most incredible experiences for you.
For sure.
But it was amazing. We had thousands.
Yeah, you loved it, didn't you? Remember when I brought you with me? Remember? Yeah, you loved it, didn't you? You little bitch. We love it, don't we, folks? We love it. We love it.
Thousands of reporters. They weren't treated particularly nicely either, by the way, but I got along great with him. And because of that, it started rough, remember, with, Rocket Man, Little Rocket Man? And he said, I have a button on my desk, a red button. I said, I have a red button on my desk, too. Mine's bigger and mine works. Yours doesn't. And this went on for a couple of months. And then all of a sudden, the logjam was broken, and he wanted to meet. And we did meet. And we get along great. To this day, we get along great. He won't talk to Biden. He won't even talk to these people. He won't even talk to them. He has no respect for him. He's a man. If he respects you, he'll respect you. He wouldn't talk to Obama. Obama tried to get meetings with him. He wouldn't meet with him. He met with me. I met with him twice. I would have had a deal worked out with him. He's got tremendous nuclear capability. It's the single biggest problem. Maybe this show's more important than even I thought it might be, because somebody's got to understand what has to happen, and they have to de-escalate.
So how would you do that now?
Well, now, so you have a problem. You got this crazy world is blowing up, and the United States has absolutely no say, and Macron, who's a friend of mine, is over with China, kissing his ass, okay, in China. I said, France is now going to China. You take a look at Saudi Arabia. Look at what happened. They're great people. They wanted to help us. He goes over and gets a fist pump. You know what a fist pump means? Don't shake my hand because your hand's dirty. That's what a fist pump is. They got it, and they were so insulted. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Oh, I don't want to shake your hand. Let's go fist pump.
Subscribe to
So much content. Oh my God.